Hi guys, and welcome to this video. I hope you're all doing super well. Thank you so much once again for joining me, of course, here on my channel. So today guys, as you will have seen from the title of this video, we are going to be talking about Judaism and cults. Now, there is Judaism, there are denominations of Judaism, there are tribes in Judaism, and then there are branches that exist that are not branches of Judaism but are cults. So without further ado guys, let's get into Judaism and cults. The first cult guys that I wanted to actually talk about in this video is called naturei karta. Some of you may have heard of naturei karta before, and some of you may have not heard of naturei karta. If you haven't heard of them, it's highly likely though that you will have seen them in the press in London specifically, like in the UK, or if not in Israel. So naturei karta are well known for opposing the Zionist movement. They have been in the press a lot, I mean over the years generally, but specifically since the events of October 7th, where the whole situation started out, well, I say started out, but what happened since October 7th between Israel or Israeli government and Gaza and Palestine. Naturei karta have been in the press a huge amount. This is because naturei karta is a cult of movement that opposes Zionism. So from some people's perspective, you think, okay, this is a movement that opposes Zionism, which is obviously, Zionism was founded by the Israeli government, is a political movement, which is like, you know, anti-Palestine, and you know, Zionism just wants an Israeli state. Naturei karta oppose that, and they believe that, you know, we should just not have, you know, the state of Israel basically, and so they are pro-Palestine. Now some people would think, okay, this sounds good from that perspective. They oppose this political movement because Zionism is not a positive thing, and they support Palestine. What's wrong with naturei karta, right? However, the problem guys is that naturei karta have a tendency to have a very aggressive approach with what they do. You will always recognize naturei karta because they are ultra orthodox, and they always have the little Palestinian like flags or badges on them. They're one of the only sort of Jewish groups, I want to say, that will walk around with a Palestinian badge, and they dress traditionally, you know, they are ultra orthodox. So you can always recognize naturei karta like from that format. One thing they do, which has pissed off a lot of Jews generally, is that they have a tendency to burn the Israeli flag. The Israeli flag, for any of you that have seen it before, has a Star of David on. I'm wearing one right here, which is a little Star of David. And the Star of David is an emblem that essentially represents Jews. It was something that Jews were forced to wear when the Holocaust happened, and Hitler enforced that all Jews had to have this little star, and it showed, you know, who Jewish people was, and they were easily identifiable because of the Star of David, or the star at the time. Okay, so naturei karta burning the Israeli flag is not just, I mean, it's a disrespect to Israeli government, but I'm not really bothered about them. But it's a mass disrespect to all Jews generally, because this is an emblem that represents all of us as Jews. But naturei karta don't accept this. Now, in 2006, guys, there was a conference that was held in Tehran, in Iran, I believe. And naturei karta attended this conference. The conference was about the denial of the Holocaust, which is a very serious thing, because to deny that the Holocaust existed is essentially to deny that there are thousands, if not millions, of Jews that died in a disgusting way. Okay, so it's a very serious thing. So naturei karta attended this conference about the denial of the Holocaust in Tehran, in Iran, and one of the members of naturei karta actually stated that his grandparents, I think, had died in Auschwitz, so he knows that the Holocaust existed, but the conference was about the denial of the Holocaust. Now, Jews generally would not attend something about the denial of the Holocaust, because we just wouldn't want to be involved in something like that. From the point that someone organises a rally to say that the Holocaust didn't exist, when we know that our ancestors died in that horrific manner, it's like you wouldn't go and attend that rally because it's just ridiculous and it's a huge disrespect to Jews worldwide. But Nur Carter still went to debate it and still went to attend it when they really shouldn't have been doing that in the first place. And so there's a very high rabbi that requested that Nur Carter were actually excommunicated as Jews from the overall Jewish community because of the level of disrespect that they brought to us generally as Jews worldwide. It's a very, very serious thing that they did. So I know myself, guys, that there are a lot of people that are pro-Palestine and pro-Gaza out there that think Nur Carter are amazing. But some of the processes and the things that Nur Carter do are highly questionable for us in the Jewish community, and on a level of disrespect which is like next level. And they also can be very violent and very aggressive to other Jews and to other people generally, which is why one of the rabbis that's very high up in Israel asked for their excommunication, for them to be completely excommunicated as Jews, because they have tendencies which are not in line with the Torah and not in line with what Judaism promotes. And Judaism and the Torah does not promote acts of violence or going to constant debates in an aggressive manner. This is not something that Judaism actually promotes. The next cult, guys, that I wanted to talk about is called Lev Toore. Lev Toore, guys, are a movement that was founded in Israel, I think in the late 90s or early 2000s, okay? And they have had numerous investigations by the FBI. Now, when I discovered Lev Toore and heard about them was when they had an FBI investigation in Guatemala in South America, actually. And many people would think, God, is there a lot of Jews in South America? And Lev Toore are actually a very small group. They weren't like a huge cult. There was maybe 200 or 300 of them. Still to this day, there's maybe only 200-300 of them. They're not massive. But the things that go on in that cult, guys, are unbelievable as well. So, as I said, they started out in Israel, but they became more known and on the FBI's radar when they ended up in Guatemala. And then they've been in other countries. To this day, I mean, to recent dates, they've been in Romania and Macedonia. So they really sort of move on the run when the FBI starts another investigation on them, basically. They are known for abuse towards women, towards children, kidnapping of women and children as well. You've got women that have tried to flee the cult with their kids. Then they will chase them in other countries, kidnap them. They do arranged marriages or more so forced marriages between teenagers. I mean, the things that they do are actually unbelievable. From the interpretation of Lev Toore, they believe that they are following halakha as is written in the Torah. Halakha is Jewish law, okay? But they follow some next level version of it, which involves kidnapping, abuse, etc., etc. When they were discovered in Guatemala by the FBI, they were living in these kind of like, how can I say this, these kind of shacks, these kind of huts that are constructed that are not even technically habitable, I want to say. There were like bugs and flies everywhere, infestations. People were living in squalor, basically. One way that Lev Toore are very recognisable is that they are covered in head to toe in like black cloth, like their face, like you can't see the women's eyes specifically. The men dress more in a more traditional ultra-orthodox way, but the women and small children, like small girls, must be covered from head to toe in a black cloth, and you can't see their face or their eyes at all, so everything is covered. Girls are completely covered in this black cloth from around the age of 3 years old, so they have a very specific interpretation, an incorrect interpretation of what the halakha and what Jewish law states in regards to modesty. I actually found out about Lev Toore maybe a year or 2 years ago, because I found a video online on YouTube actually from a guy called, I think he's called Mendy Levy, and he was one of the first people to escape Lev Toore. I think when he escaped, he was still actually a teenager. He was very, very young. Maybe he was like 15 or 16, and he managed to get away from Lev Toore. And when he recounts what he went through in that cult, you just think, do people like this that do this to children, do they even exist? Like, it's just absolutely horrendous. If you want to find out more, guys, about Lev Toore, I really recommend to go and check out Mendy Levy's videos on YouTube, because he goes into a lot more detail about them. They still do exist currently, but because they are always on the FBI's radar, they can't really do any more recruitment really for their cult, because, do you know what I mean, they are under constant criminal investigations basically. Right, the next one I wanted to talk about, guys, is Jews for Jesus. Now this is one that most Jews just find ridiculous. I don't feel like they're really highly dangerous as some other Jewish cults, but Jews for Jesus are just like completely silly. Like, if you ask any other Jewish person about Jews for Jesus, they're just going to tell you Jews for Jesus are just really stupid. Like, they're just completely silly. Okay, so what Jews for Jesus is you have Jewish people, so people like myself that are born through the bloodline in the Torah, attending Christian ministries, and they believe that Jesus is the Messiah. Now, in the Torah and in Judaism, and this is like historically recognized, that Jesus was a Jew and he then left Judaism and he founded Christianity. I mean, this is a historical fact. Most people know that this is what occurred, even if you're not religious. And so in Judaism and in the Torah, Jesus is not our Messiah. He's someone who existed, but he's definitely not our Messiah, because he left and founded another religion. Where Jews for Jesus come in is they believe that essentially that they are Jewish, but they want to follow Christianity, which, I mean, everyone can follow Christianity, but the thing with Jews for Jesus is they like to try and publicize that there's a Jewish element to what they're doing in Christianity. So they're like culturally Jewish, but they want to link it into Christianity and kind of like say that you can be Christian while being Jewish, and, you know, this and this and this. It's really bizarre, to be honest with you. Most Jews, you know, if they were going to follow Christianity, they wouldn't consider themselves Jewish anymore, even if they're born through the bloodline, because the two religions are completely different. But Jews for Jesus is like almost like a false marketing promotion, you could say, where it's a Christian movement, but you want to draw people who are Jewish into it, so you've called it Jews for Jesus, so that you can attract Jews to follow Christianity, which is quite dodgy. I feel like Jews for Jesus is one of those ones that is a lot bigger, like in places like the US, like in Europe. A lot of people don't really know about Jews for Jesus. It's not really so much talked about, but in the US, the movement is actually quite big, and you do get a lot of Jews that end up going in and following Christianity, but still believe that they can be culturally Jewish, which you can be culturally Jewish, but it's opposed to what we do in Judaism and the Torah. Like, it's very strange. It's very bizarre for Jews, you know. Anyway, but they're not really, I still don't feel like they're a very dangerous cult though, but they are a cult still, you know. Right, guys, the next cult I wanted to talk about is called the Neshot HaShalim. The Neshot HaShalim, or otherwise named the Burqa sect, will sort of make you think a bit of Lev Toore, because they look a bit similar to them, but the way they think and their processes are a bit different as well. Okay, so the Neshot HaShalim, or Burqa sect, are in an area of Israel called Bnei Brak. Bnei Brak is a very ultra-Orthodox area of Israel that exists currently. This is a current sect, and it probably has maybe like, I want to say around 30 members or so. It's, again, a tiny, you know, that's a really small sect. But the thing is, guys, all these sects I'm mentioning, apart from Jews for Jesus, they are quite small in numbers, but oh my God, the things that they do, make them known, because it's like insanity, the things that they do. So the Neshot Hashalim are a very small sect in Israel currently. They are not only very strange, but in regards to how Jews are generally, even ultra-Orthodox Jews, think that the Neshot Hashalim are crazy, basically, just to show you like on what level they're classed within denominations of Jews. So they live in this area of Israel called Bnei Brak, and the Neshot Hashalim are composed solely of women. There is no men in their Neshot Hashalim, okay? So it's all women who have children, so they must have either separated from their husbands or their husbands have passed, I don't know, because there only currently appears to be women in this cult for some reason. Now, what the Neshot Hashalim believe, guys, is that a bit like the Lev Toore women, they need to be covered from head to toe in a black cloth. Very small little girls and children also need to be covered in this black cloth from a very young age. Again, you know, literally, you know, when they're toddlers, they need to be covered in this black cloth. So they look very similar to Lev Toore. The difference with Neshot Hashalim is that they wear multiple layers of this cloth. So unlike Lev Toore, who put on one layer, that's it, Neshot Hashalim might have 2, 3 or 4 layers of this black cloth on. They believe it protects their modesty. This is their interpretation of, again, halakha law, which is Jewish law in the Torah. They have another version of what modesty means. And their children, like little girls, must be fully covered like this. Now, there are some YouTube videos online, very brief ones, where you will see the Neshot Hashalim women sort of turning a corner or running down a street in Bnei Brak in Israel. You can find small videos like this online currently, and they're literally like running down a street. Like as soon as someone sees them, you will see them go down a side street or go into any street to avoid anyone looking at them. They don't like anyone to look at them, like whether that's a woman, a man, a child. They don't want anyone to look at them at all. And the strange thing with the Neshot Hashalim, it gets more and more bizarre, is that they believe that when they take a shower or they wash for hygiene purposes, they should not remove any of their layers of clothing. Now, I've never come across any other cult that exists, correct me if I'm wrong, that when they at least go to wash, I mean, there are cults I know where people don't even wash, but they believe that when they wash, when they shower, they're using like a shower gel or whatever, they still shouldn't remove their clothing, because they believe that even themselves, they should not see themselves with no clothes on. So even a woman, for example, that's in her bathroom, the door's locked, there's no one else in the bathroom but her, she believes that she can't remove all these layers of black cloth because she is not allowed to see her own body, even to clean it. Can you imagine? Like, it's just really, really strange. The cult itself, guys, was founded by a woman called Bruria Keren, and they believe that, like, with all this black cloth, like layers of black cloth they wear, it avoids men from sinning, essentially, because they are, like, I can't even say ultra modest, it's like modest on another level, like literally. But yeah, the Neshot Hashalim have been under a lot of investigations also in Israel. And this is because there has been a lot of allegations of child abuse within the cult itself. Very serious allegations in regards to the cult leader, Bruria Keren. So, you know, that's in regards to her. But yeah, other Jewish denominations in Israel do not tolerate this cult at all. They don't like them. The ultra-Orthodox do not tolerate them. They live in an area where Bnei Brak is, it is an ultra-Orthodox sort of community that live there. So these women sort of live amongst them, but I wouldn't say they're tolerated amongst the ultra-Orthodox. The ultra-Orthodox don't like them. These women, they also rarely leave their properties or their houses. Like, they will only come out of their houses if it is an absolute necessity. So it's not common to, you know, see these women walking around on a daily basis. It's like every so often you will see one come out of their house, and then you'll see them like turning to a side street and like run down the street like someone's chasing them, but there's no one chasing them. It's honestly really, really bizarre. Last cult I want to talk about today, guys, is called Laava. Now, Laava became very well known and sort of on the, I don't know what you call it, on the radar of cults in 2014 for a very specific reason. There was a Muslim-Jewish interfaith couple that decided to get married in 2014. There was a lovely girl called Maral and a gentleman called Mahmoud. He was Muslim, she was Jewish, practicing, and they decided to have a relationship together and get married. Now, for most people, do you know what I mean? When you get married, it's like one of the best days of your life. You're living your best life. Do you know what I mean? So what happened is they were dating, they got engaged, etc. They're planning the wedding. And Mahmoud's parents, who were Muslim as well, they really liked Maral. They were like, yeah, go for it, son. Get married to Maral. They helped plan the wedding. They were in full support of them getting married. And Maral, who was Jewish, she decided to revert to Islam because she wanted to. That was her decision and her choice. And she wanted to marry Mahmoud. The couple got on really well. There was no real issues between them at all. So they're planning their wedding day, etc., etc. Maral's family on the other end, specifically her dad, was opposed to the wedding, didn't want Maral to marry a Muslim, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so what happened is Mahmoud thought, it would be a nice gesture, and some people still do this in like other countries. Actually, I haven't seen it a lot, but some people do it, where, you know, when you're going to marry someone, you'll put like a little public kind of like, what do you call it, like a little paragraph in a newspaper just to announce the wedding, because it's something that's nice to do. Do you know what I mean? So what Mahmoud did is he decided to put a little public, like little written paragraph, have it put in a newspaper to announce his wedding to Maral, because he was really excited and he wanted to do something nice for Maral to show that he loved her, etc., etc. So he thought it would be a nice surprise for Maral. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, this little article, this tiny little paragraph, maybe it's like 4 lines, goes out in a newspaper to say, you know, Mahmoud blah 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 is about to marry Maral blah 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 on this day blah blah blah. No one thinks none the wiser. Mahmoud's happy. He's thinking, oh, Maral she'll be so happy that I put that out there, and it shows just how much I love her. My parents will be really proud of me, etc. He's not thinking anything else, and he's thinking Maral's going to be really, really happy. Well. Now, what happens next is that this cult, Laava, sees this tiny little paragraph in the newspaper, because these people, guys, they're everywhere trying to ruin people's lives, you know. So they pick up on this little tiny paragraph in the newspaper where the wedding is announced, and the wedding day is written there with the location and everything. So you're thinking, okay, Jazz, I can see this from a mile off now. So what happens? Maral and Mahmoud, they do the wedding. It's a really nice, like, big wedding. Do you know what I mean? Like, nice, big scale. You're thinking the guests that attend it are going to love it. Do you know what I mean? The food is good. Like, it's one of those, like, what I call extra weddings. Like, it's a big scale one. It's nice. Do you know what I mean? They're thinking their guests are going to love it, etc., etc. Everyone's living their best life. Hell no, because Laava decides to rock up at the wedding, protest outside the wedding, scream profanities, say that it's disgusting that a Jewish girl has married a Muslim, that he's going to go to hell. Can you imagine people screaming this outside someone's wedding at this level of disrespect? And Laava, they're not a tiny cult, they're big. So there was like hundreds of them screaming abuse at the guests, screaming abuse at the bride and groom, saying that he's disgusting, saying to her that she's a traitor, why has she married a Muslim, this. And this is how it became like a huge story in the press and on the internet, like worldwide, because this Laava psychopathic cult group decided to start abusing all the guests at the wedding, screaming in these profanities in the street, basically. As the guests were actually coming in and out of the wedding venue, guys, these psychopathic cult protesters from Laava were trying to rush the guests, attack them. Imagine these are people who've just come out their house, thought they're going to have a nice day, see a lovely couple get married, and then you've got people trying to attack them because they're opposed to the wedding, scream absolute profanities. In the end, the police had to interject because there was about 200 members from this cult. Imagine 200 members from a cult rock up at your wedding in the first place. So the Israeli police had to intervene. They ended up arresting 4 of the cult members. Luckily, no one was injured in the whole process. Like, all the wedding guests were fine. No one was injured. But I mean, like, imagine that is supposed to be the best day of your life, and the psychopathic cult have got nothing better to do than rock up and scream profanities, abuse people, tell people that they're going to go to hell. I mean, like, who the hell are you? Laava is a group that hates Muslims, hates Arabs, believes that, you know, Israel should just be a Jewish state and that's it. So they believe that they, you know, they have a right to impose all their views on everyone. And if they see an interfaith couple, this is something that they don't like. You know, in this world, guys, like, there are people like myself and other people that try to promote tolerance. Like, you'll see on my channel that the videos I actually do, if I feel there's something good in Judaism or in Jewish community, I will say it. If there's something not good, like what I'm speaking about in this video, I will say it. Do you know what I mean? I'm a very transparent person, and I try to see the good in everything, actually. And when you have people that are, you know, screaming abuse at people because of their ethnic background, because of their religion, it's like, we should be promoting peace. If there's interfaith couples that get married, that's actually amazing. Why are we not in support of this? Because interfaith couples marrying is a demonstration of tolerance and respect to each other. This is what this shows, is that this girl who was Jewish and this gentleman who was Muslim, they had respect for each other, and even his parents who were Muslim, they had respect for Maral who's Jewish. So why can everyone else not have respect? You know what I mean? And in regards to her reverting, that's her choice. It is written obviously in Islam, in the Quran, that, you know, a Muslim man can marry a Jewish woman, first of all. But Maral decided to revert because that was her business and that was her choice. I don't know why it was then so hard for this cult to respect her choice. Do you know what I mean? That's her legal right and her choice. If this was happening anywhere else, like in the UK, for example, you know what? Like, hey, the whole cult would have just got arrested. All of them would have got arrested for that, because you can't go into people's weddings, think that you're going to make threats and this and this and this. What is this? These people moving like completely mad or something, you know? Anyway, guys, we have come to the end of this video all about Judaism and cults. I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, of course, please feel free to like, subscribe, click on the little bell for post notifications, and I hope to see you very, very soon, of course, for another video.